Hi, this is Dave and welcome to the Table, a series of videos where I review and discuss various board and card games looking at them from a family perspective. Today we're going to be taking a look at Provincia Romana from Passport Game Studios. This is a game for 2 to 6 players in which you take on the role of a Roman governor in a city that's in Gaul, and you're going to be working and aspiring to become the proconsul. You want to move up in the government, and so you're going to be doing this by working to build various improvements and improve the economy for your city, boosting its morale and defense, and you're going to be competing against other players to be doing the same thing. In the meanwhile, you're going to face the pressures of Rome, of having to pay taxes and losing morale and losing your defenses, and you're also going to have to defend against raids from these different Gallic troops that are trying to push you out of their area. So that's going to provide the whole framework for this game. Let's take a look at how it's played, and I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts. Okay, I have Provincia Romana set up for 2 players here, and I quickly want to go over the components that come in the game. First, we have all the resources that we're going to be using in the game here. We have clay, we have wood, we have stone, we have gold. Next, we have our player board in the center where a lot of the action is going to be taking place. And we have the scoring track right here in the center. It's going to be able to easily identify how many points each player has. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there is going to be a round tracker that's going to keep track of the game. It's going to be played over 6 rounds. And down at the bottom here, we have spaces for the different types of cards that we're going to be using in the game. We have these opus cards, which are going to give us resources. This SPQR, which is going to give us Senate favors. We have these Edificium cards, which are going to be our buildings, and then finally we have these Bellum cards, which are going to stand for raids that are going to take place during the game. There's a space for discards for each of these 3 types of cards, and there's also going to be these little tokens here that are going to be used during the game, and I'll get to in the gameplay. You'll see how they're used, and then there's a space up in the upper left-hand corner for them when they are used. Next, each player receives a starting player board here, and it comes with an extra Horaeum, and you can tell which one they are because they will be marked with the associated color. And on here there's going to be some information. This is going to be a track here that's going to keep track of the morale for this particular area. We have a defense track here, and in the center there's going to be a picture here that's going to depict what type of area this is. This one happens to be an inland area, so you can tell here because it's got the river and bit of like the pathway, there's a little bridge there. And then we have another type here, which happens to be a port type city, so you can see by the water here. So there's 2 different types of cards, and they're going to tell you up in the top which type of card you cannot play. For example here, because this is a waterside or a coastal city, you can't play an inland type card. And then next, each player, there is a printed Horaeum on here that's going to be of no cost, and it's going to limit our resources that we can hold to no more than 5. But we start off with a card here that allows us to hold up to 9, and it has an associated cost with it, but this potentially can be destroyed, but this comes with the game. And then also down at the bottom, at any time on our turn, we can trade in 2 gold to get 1 wood or 1 stone. So that gives us all the information that's there. Then there's going to be these little wooden cubes that we're going to be placing here that we're going to keep track of those as well as our score. And then each player also is going to receive these tokens here. There's going to be 5 of them. 2 of them are going to be -1 military, 2 of them are going to be +1 military, and the other one is going to be +1 military and 1 gold. And these are going to be used during a particular phase of the game when there is going to be a raid. And then finally, a couple extra things here. We have the Caesar card, which is going to be used to determine the start player. And then also I have some cards over here that are set off to the side. They're -2 on one side, -4 on the other. And these are just extra cards that are going to be used to track negative prestige points in case there happens to be a penalty during the game. And so I'll just place these off to the side. So Now that we've gone over all the components, let me show you how the game is played. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to receive 7 gold coins, which we've done here. And then the next thing they're going to do is we're going to determine turn order. And so this black player is going to be first, and so they'll have the Caesar card. And then there's this chart that comes in the rule book here that is going to determine starting resources and a few other things based upon turn order and the number of players. And so here, each player is going to end up starting off with 4 stone, 4 wood, and 3 clay, which we've done here. We've also started off with our prestige points there on 0, and we have drawn 1 Adefficium card to be our starting hand. And so let's take a look here. We have here, up on the top is going to be how many victory points it is worth. Along the side here is going to be the cost and resources. Over on this upper right hand side is going to be the type of card that it is. For example, this is going to affect morale as well as victory points. And then down at the bottom, during one of the phases when cards are activated, this is going to kick in. And for example, this one here is going to give me +1 morale for as long as this card is in play. Now up in the top here, this is considered a unique card. If there was a infinity sign underneath here, it would tell you that you could have as many as you would like. So this is going to be kept secret here in our cards. So, and then finally we're going to take the battle tokens, which were those things that we had in the beginning. We're going to keep this one that says +1 and a gold in front of us face down. And then we're going to take the rest of the ones that all the players, we're going to take them all, we're going to shuffle them up, and we're going to deal them out face down to each player. And so here's what I have here in my hand. I have 2 of them that are going to give -1 military to myself, 1 -1 military to my opponent, and 1 that's going to be +1. And so we're going to play these during one of the phases of the game. And so sometimes we're going to be able to help ourselves, and sometimes we're going to be able to help others, or hurt ourselves, or hurt others. And so that's what we have here, and I'll get into that when we get into the raids. And then each player is going to take their markers, and they're going to put them at the tops of the morale and the defense tracks for their respective cities. Now, one thing that I do want to point out here is down on this resource track for our Horaeum. When we start off with, we can have no more than 9 resources of each type. So we can have up to 9 clay, 9 wood, and 9 stone. It's not 9 resources total. So just want to make sure that you're aware of that, so you can generate, and hold on to some of your resources during the game. So we have that all set up here, and what's going to happen now is, starting with the first player, we're going to be selecting cards, and the way that that's going to work is that each of these 3 decks here, resources, Senate favors, and buildings, there's 2 tokens above them, and so each deck can potentially be drawn from twice. Now, one thing with a 2-player game and a 3-player game is that when we're selecting cards, they're going to be done twice. Otherwise, if we're playing 4, 5, or 6 players, each person will choose a deck to draw from once. So it helps bring balance to a lower player count during the game. So the first player here, I think what we're going to do is, we've got a good number of resources. Let's see what other kind of buildings are out there. So we're going to draw from this Adefficium deck. So we'll take one of these tokens, and we're going to place it over here in the discard pile. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move the camera up, and we're going to reveal cards here. We're going to put 2 face down, and then we're going to put 4 of them face up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what's going to happen now is there's going to be cards that are out there that we will be able to draft from. Everybody will get a chance to choose from those cards. And so, for example, here, the black player gets to choose first. And so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to choose this card right here. This Carchesium is probably one of the best buildings here, because it's not only going to give me 2 victory points, it's going to cost 2 gold and 2 wood, but it's going to give me a discount of 1 resource. as long as I have this in place. This is going to be a really, really good card to have. So I'm going to place this into my hand, and then the second player is going to choose something here, and they're going to choose this Stabulum here, which when it activates is going to give them a +1 military. So this is going to be good for them. So they're going to choose that card. Once we've selected, or each of the players have selected cards, any remaining cards will move into the discard pile. So that will happen here, and then we'll move on to the next player. We'll get a chance to choose which card they're going to, which pile they're going to want to draft from. And so maybe they want to draft from the resources. So we'll move this up here. We're going to do the same thing, place 2 face down and 4 face up. Now with the resources, it's going to be different, because if we look on these cards here, for example, this has a line and there's 2 different types of resources, and it says Quaestor. Well, at the top, whoever chooses the Opus deck to draft from, they get to choose first, and so they're going to get this larger amount of resources. Anybody else that's drafting from the cards will choose from the bottom. And so this one looks pretty appealing here, pretty balanced. So we're going to choose this one. 2 wood, 2 clay, and 1 gold. So they're going to gather up those resources. So we've got 2 wood, 2 clay, and a gold. And this is going to go over in the second player's resource piles over here. And I think we are going to look at our cards here and see what we have we want to build. And I think we want to try and get more stone, because this amphitheater has a cost of 6 stone. So let's take a blind draw. This one will give us 1, but let's see what's underneath here. We'll choose this one here. And this one only, I'm going to get 2 gold. So that's fine. Choose 2 gold, put that in front of me. The rest of the cards then are discarded. And so this is going to repeat one more time for each of the players to go through and select cards. Now, when we move on to after we've done that, we're going to move on to the phase where we can actually play cards. And the neat thing with this is, and starting with the first player, they're going to be able to build as many cards as they can afford to build. So it's not just building one thing, and they can do this. So we're going to choose from some of the here. Let's see what resources that we can afford to pay. And the other thing that we can do also is we can trade down here 2 gold to get either a wood or a stone. And so I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to get some more stone. And so I'm going to choose to trade in 4 of my gold pieces and take 2 stone. And so that's going to help me out here. And so I'm going to go ahead and build this amphitheater. It's going to cost me 6 stone and 3 clay. So I'm going to pay that 6 stone and 3 clay to build this amphitheater. And so I'm going to place it face up in front of me here. And I should have probably built this Carchesium first, but that's okay. I'm going to get that a little bit later on. I wanted to jump out right in front here, and I'm going to score 8 victory points. So I will move up 8 victory points on this track here. And so each player is going to in turn build as many cards as they can afford. Unfortunately for me, I don't have enough resources to build this one, otherwise I'd built it too. So this is going to be in front of me. So once we complete the building cards phase, what we're going to do is we'll move on to where there's going to be a battle phase. Unfortunately, or see for us in the beginning of the game, there is not going to be a raid, so we're going to skip that one. I'm going to come back to it. Next, we're going to move into this 4th phase here, which we're going to do what's called upkeep and taxes. And so the first thing that we're going to have to do is that we're going to have to lower the value on our morale track by 1. And then we're going to lower our defense track by 1. And then finally we have to pay 1 gold in tax to Rome. So each player is going to do that unless they have cards that will mitigate that. But for example, here now we drop these down, pay our gold. And so this is going to represent the pressure from Rome that's going to be on rebuilding this, and then also you have the Gauls that are kind of putting pressure on these particular cities. So we've done that now. That's the 4th phase, and then finally the 5th phase is going to be where we're going to activate any of our buildings. And so let's see. Let's say for the sake of argument here that the other player had built the Stabulum, they're just going to automatically gain 1 military, which it doesn't show up on any of the tracks. It just will be there. However, this amphitheater here is going to give me +1 morale, so we're just going to bump the morale back up. So this amphitheater, we're providing entertainment, we're going to keep the people happy, the morale is going to be higher, so we're going to do that. And then that's going to be the end of the 5 phases, and we're going to, then what we'll do is we'll move on to the next round here, and we'll switch the Caesar card, we'll move over, and we're going to continue to do these phases. Now let me get to this battle, to how this battle is going to work here. Once we get to the 3rd phase, after we've built additional buildings, we're going to have this battle, and so this is going to symbolize a raid that's going to come from the Gauls. And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take any of these battle tokens into our hand, and we're going to choose to play them. So I can choose to play something that's going to be on myself or play on another player. And early on in the game, the raids are probably not as bad, and I've got a pretty good morale and defense, so I'm going to go ahead and play this on myself. And each player is going to, in turn, choose a token, and they're going to play them. And so, for example, here this other player is going to choose to do the same thing. They're going to play a token, and then you reveal it, and they go to wherever player. So this is going to give them -1 military. This is going to be -1 military. And so finally, what we're going to do is we're going to reveal this card here. And so this first one here, this battle, is going to show that the Gauls have a strength of 4, and if we're not able to defeat that, we're going to lose 2 prestige points. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to subtract and add anything that we have in our cards here. So for example, here we have a morale of 6 and -1, so we're down to a 5 here, and this is going to bring us down to a 4. So I have a morale of 4, which is enough that I'm not going to be defeated by the Gauls, and so I'm not going to lose 2 prestige points. This player over here, they're at a 5, -1, that's a 4, -1 is a 3. However, the Stabulum is going to bring them back up to a 4, and so they're going to be okay as well. And so we're going to resolve that battle there, and if we are equal to or greater, then we win the battle, otherwise we lose. And so these battle tokens then will be discarded from the game, and this card will be off, and then we'll go ahead and continue on activating cards, and we're going to go through this. Now play is going to continue for a total of 6 rounds. And then finally what's going to happen at the 6th round, after the 6th thing is activated, we're going to have one more turn where we're going to be able to build any additional cards or play any additional cards from our hand that we can in an attempt to score prestige points. And at the end of the game, whoever has the highest number of prestige points is the winner of the game. Alright, let's talk about Provincia Romana. And I managed to pick up a copy of this at Gen Con 2014. And I've been playing it a bunch. And so it's just now coming into general availability. There was some delays in getting the game released, but here it is coming out now at the end of 2014. And I'm just going to say up front that you're going to want to pick this one up and add it to your library. So let me talk about this game here. Now it's not a perfect game, and there's a few issues that I have with it, but overall let's get into this. First of all, production quality of this game is top-notch. You've got a player board that comes out in the center that's very, very well laid out. Everything is marked out for you where your decks are going to go, discard piles, places for your tokens, and even basically a compartment to put your discarded tokens in. A very, very clearly marked round tracker that's going to tell you when the raids are coming, and a very, very spacious victory point tracker that's in the center of the table. Now, this game, it's got a cool, kind of like a marble artwork. It's nothing like extravagant, but it's very, very functional, and I really like that. It makes the game not confusing when you have everything in the center of the table. The card artwork is fantastic, especially with all these buildings. There is a lot of really, really cool artwork that's on this game. You've got lots and lots of cool pictures that have been developed for this game, and they look phenomenal. Player boards look great too. The same thing with our city types, and you've got these very functional tracks here, and so just phenomenal on there. However, I do have an issue with the symbology on these cards. They can be confusing when you're starting to learn the game and you're going to spend a lot of time having to look in the rule book to explain what they all mean, because some of the symbols on there, it's hard to decipher at first which cards are going to be unique ones, your buildings which are unique, opposed to which ones are common. I think I explained it in the gameplay with the little infinity symbols there. And then some of the cards, when they're activated, as to what they're going to, how they operate in particular, can be a little bit confusing. There should have been a reference card there. The biggest confusion is with the Senate cards as to which ones are going to be a one-time use where you play it and discard it, opposed to an ongoing card. And so there should have been a little bit of reference thing. But after you play the game a while, you'll understand what the cards mean, and you won't necessarily need a reference card. But early on, if you're playing with a bunch of people, you're passing this rule book around, and it can really kind of bog down gameplay in the beginning. So there is a little bit of a learning curve for the symbology, and just think that a reference card would have helped that out. Getting into the gameplay itself, there's lots and lots of good things about this game. First of all, the game flow. It flows awesomely, and you know, having a card that tells us all the turn order, this is great. And so it just kind of, you can look down and see, okay, well, the first phase, all right, I'm going to be choosing a card. So we're going to go through that drafting, and I love the fact that you have essentially a limit on the decks that you could draw from. Each deck can only be drawn from twice in a particular round, and so you're not going to be overextending and going to a certain type of thing too many times. You're just gonna, you're gonna play it. You're gonna use the, you're gonna draft from that particular deck, and the little token goes into the pile. So, only twice for each one. And so it's going to help bring balance to the types of cards that you have into your hand. I really do like the aspect with the resource cards, the opus cards, that whoever chooses that, when they draft their card, they're going to get a bigger pick. So it kind of entices you to draw from there. But it comes at a cost. If you're drawing those resources, yeah, you're going to get more, but later on you may not get a first choice at a building, or maybe a Senate card. You're going to be looking for other things, and so you're going to have to weigh that option of being able to get resources. So I do like that. I like being able to play the cards. When you're building buildings and stuff like that, you're able to build as many as you can afford. So it's not going to have this slow gameplay where you're only going to be able to build one building. You're going to be able to quickly develop your city, having all these different things that are coming in, and so you're going to be able to play what you can afford. And so I like that, and it's also going to kind of entice you of, you have a hand limit in this game of 5 cards, that if you start drafting a bunch of things, you're not going to be able to hold on to them. You're going to have to discard them. So you're going to have to play these cards. So you're going to have this balanced building throughout the game. It's not going to be like, I'm going to hold on to a bunch of things and all of a sudden one turn, bam. So I like that. It just kind of, the flow of being able to play the cards is going to be kind of like the steady development throughout the game. The next phase of the game that I want to talk about is the battle phase, and this is where I kind of have an issue with it. These battle token things, I think they're kind of silly. I don't particularly care for them. Thematically, they don't really lend into the game. I guess maybe they do because there is competition amongst the players to become the next proconsul, and so I guess it could represent some sabotage that you're trying to do if you're trying to play a negative military token against them. Maybe you're trying to be an ally by helping somebody out, but unfortunately you don't know where these are coming from, so you can't tell who your friend is and who your foe is in this game. And so thematically it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and so I just kind of think they're silly.
And you know, if you don't like them, you can easily just house rule them where you're not going to use them. They don't really have that much of an effect when you're playing in lower player counts because you know, at the most you're going to have a -1 on you from another player, maybe -2 if you're playing something on yourself. But if you're going to choose to play a negative token on yourself, chances are you're already going to have other cards that are going to help mitigate it. So, but it can be it can have more of a factor when you're playing with 4, 5, or 6 players because you have a greater dispersion of your tokens and people can choose to play them all at one time, and by chance you could get really slammed. So it has an effect then, but I really don't care for it thematically. I think it doesn't really work, and with lower player count, it doesn't really affect the game that much. And then the other issue that we have these battle cards, these Bellum cards, and you're going to have to face an enemy. And some of them can be strong, some of them are not. Just kind of depends on what you get. The game does remind me of Kingsburg without dice. Unfortunately, you don't get a chance to see what the enemy is coming. You don't have that peek like you would in that game. But, you know, it just kind of reminds me of that. You have this strength, and you have to make sure you have enough to beat it. If you don't, you lose resources. But I kind of think that in all the times that I've played this, I've only lost a battle one time. And so I think that the enemies could be a little bit stronger, and there could be more devastating effects on there because then it's going to really affect then what types of buildings that you're going to choose to build. So you're going to want to look at that. Now, later on in the game, the games could have I guess the enemies could have an effect on you. They may not. They can appear to be a little bit stronger than they are depending on how you develop your city. But overall, I just kind of think that they could be a little bit stronger. Now, once we move beyond this battle phase, I'm just kind of talking about the game in terms of phases. Now you have this upkeep and taxes. And one of the things that comes into fact with this game that I do like is that thematically this part makes sense. You are a governor in a Roman city in Gaul. And so you have this pressure from this Gallic people, these Gallic forces that are trying to push you out. And so you have these raids that are going to be coming along, and so you have that, but you also have this pressure then, you know what, you're kind of far from Rome, morale's going down there, you have your defenses are going down because you have this constant pressure. So you're going to have those things that are going to be decreasing over time. Each round you're going to have morale go down, you're going to have your defenses go down, and you have to pay your taxes to Rome. And that makes sense. You have to pay your taxes. Now, there are some things where you can pull off some Senate favors where it's like, hey, you don't have to pay taxes, which can be really good. It'll save you on that gold. But you have that pressure that's coming down, and that's going to have an effect on how you develop your cities as well. You're going to want to try to keep your morale up, keep your defenses up. It's because if you keep your morale and your defenses up, then it's going to make the raids that much easier to deal with. So you do have some things where they all kind of mesh together, and it makes for a really, really good civilization building game. So I do like that particular phase. And then finally at the fifth phase that you have is that you have cards that will activate. So some cards will come in inactive, and if you want to, for 1 prestige point, you flip them around, and they'll give you a benefit right then and there. And then there's other ones that are going to be ongoing. So it's going to help you with your engine building for this game. Are you going to go with ones that are going to constantly providing you with morale? Or are you going to have ones that are going to give you more resources so that you can build more things to score more victory points? So you're going to have lots of options, and that activating the cards at the end of your turn is when you're going to gather up any resources and things that you have. So it provides for this really, really awesome game flow. So overall, you've got this game that flows really, really well. There's a few issues that I don't like. One, the cards can be confusing, and secondly, the whole thing with the battle tokens and the enemies, I just think that could be improved on. Now, aside from that, I'm going to go ahead and say this is actually one of my top games for 2014, despite the fact that there are some issues in there, and I'm going to explain to you why. Now, there was a lot of games that came out in 2014, and a lot of really, really, really good games, and they all have their different merits and different things for different reasons. And why I put this one in one of my top games, and it specifically will be looking at this game from a family perspective, is that this game is easy to learn. It's easy to teach. It provides a satisfying experience when you're playing it, and there's lots of benefits for this game. And so to me, it's worth being in my. This is in my top 10 games of 2014, which I'll be releasing the video for very soon as we wrap up the end of the year. Playing this game. With the exception of the symbology and the cards, everything is explained very well in the rules, and it makes sense as you go along. The phase to phase, there's nothing really complicated in the game, and so it's a very easy game to understand and be able to play. You're up and playing it right away. It's easy to teach because the rules are simple. If you can comprehend the rules, it's very easy to explain to players what's going on. And from phase to phase, there's not a lot that's going on. The hardest part here in trying to teach somebody is explaining to them what the symbols mean. And so if you're taking the time to learn the game, you can use the rule book to explain stuff. Chances are, if you have some experience with this game under your belt, you'll be able to just say, oh, this does this, this does this. So in overall, like a satisfying experience, I like Civilization games and engine building games, and to me this is one of the better ones for 2014 because the fact that everything just flows so well. The game doesn't seem clunky to me at all. It just kind of comes straight out with that. So I like that, just the overall flow of the game. And there's plenty of decision making to come into this game, and it's going to really come down to how you're going to manage your resources and how you're going to build basically your engine or your city, and what are you going to go about. Are you going to want to be one that's going to generate more resources to build more things? Are you going to want to go after victory points? Are you going to want to have something that's going to give you a steady influx of morale or defense? So you've got plenty of decisions to make in this game. And so looking at this game from a family perspective, you're definitely going to give you a game you're going to have to manage your resources and make some good decisions in order to be successful in playing this game. So overall, for me, Provincia Romana, one of my top games for 2014. I just think that it's this overall, the overall smooth flow of the game and giving a satisfying experience puts it up there. Again, I have a couple issues with the game, but those could be easily rectified through maybe an expansion for the game, or maybe some updated cards can fix a few things. But again, Provincia Romana, this is a great game. If you're interested in finding out more information about the game, I'll have video description below. And look forward to talking to you again soon and seeing how another game makes it to the table. Bye-bye.